Welcome to today's deep dive. So, imagine realizing that the reason your last relationship failed wasn't just some simple personality clash, but like a biological mismatch in your operating systems.
Which is quite the concept to start with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So today we're unpacking this one incredibly dense and visually striking promotional document for an upcoming program. It's called Your Relationship DNA.
And right out of the gate, I mean, it makes this massive, audacious promise.
Yeah, that your relationship struggles, your habits, the ways you love and fail to connect, they are as deeply hardwired as your genetics.
Exactly. It's a bold claim.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let me just paint the picture of what we're looking at here for you. You've got this pitch black background, and it's sparkling like a deep space galaxy.
Yeah, it definitely rejects that sterile high school biology textbook vibe. I mean, this is cinematic.
Totally cinematic. And rising up the left side is this massive, glowing, golden DNA double helix.
And intertwined between the golden rungs of this genetic ladder are these bright, vibrant, ruby red hearts.
It's basically sci-fi meets a Valentine's Day card.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this, because the visual is doing a ton of heavy lifting before you read a single word.
Oh, absolutely it is.
By blending the ultimate symbol of biological destiny, the DNA double helix, with the universal symbol of romance, the red heart, it's immediately validating a feeling so many of us have.
Yes.
Like when you get into a fight with a partner, or when you just shut down, it doesn't feel like a conscious choice. It feels like an involuntary reflex.
Which is deeply comforting on a psychological level, honestly.
Wait, comforting? How so?
Well, if your relationship patterns are framed as genetic, it removes the immediate burden of guilt. You aren't purposefully ruining a dynamic. Your nervous system is just running its default code.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see that. It lets you off the hook a bit.
Exactly. And the text builds on that comfort by laying out a very specific 3-step timeline. We see 3 check marks.
Right. The first one says, the patterns you inherited.
Huh.
The second is, the person you became. And the third, the future you create.
So looking at those 3 steps, how do you read that progression?
Well, I keep coming back to the analogy of a house. Like, the patterns you inherited is the foundation you were given. You didn't pour the concrete.
Right. Maybe your parents left you a rock-solid base, or maybe they left you a foundation built on sand that's full of cracks.
Exactly. And then the person you became is the structure you built on top of it, just to survive.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, like if your foundation was shaky, maybe you built a fortress with a moat to keep everyone at a safe distance. Or, I don't know, maybe a house with no doors because you never learned how to set boundaries.
Right. And adapting to that foundation is essentially a survival mechanism. You became the person you needed to be to function within the environment you inherited.
But here's where I have to push back on their entire premise. Like, hard.
Okay, let's hear it.
The third step is the future you create, which implies drawing up new blueprints and totally changing the house.
Right.
But biological DNA is literally the one thing about us we cannot change. You can't just wake up and decide you want different genetic markers tomorrow.
No, you definitely cannot.
So isn't calling this program Relationship DNA a massive contradiction? I mean, if the ultimate goal is personal transformation, why ground your entire metaphor in the most unchangeable element of human existence?
What's fascinating here is that the contradiction is actually the point.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And the text resolves it through this very deliberate manipulation of grammar. Look at the shift in the verbs.
Okay, let me look.
The first 2 steps use passive past tense words, inherited and became.
Well, right. You're a passenger there. Those things happen to you.
Exactly. But the third step completely flips the power dynamic with an active, present tense, generative verb create.
Oh, I see. So they're letting you off the hook for the past, but putting you on the hook for the future.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. They use the gravity of the DNA metaphor to validate the very real, visceral experience of your autonomic nervous system kicking in during a conflict.
Right? Like when your heart rate spikes and you feel the urge to just flee an argument.
Yes, that is biology. But then they introduce this crucial caveat: unlike biological DNA, this behavioral code can be rewritten. They essentially hand you the agency of a creator.
But if that biological feeling is so intense, if our nervous system is genuinely hijacked during a fight, how can this program claim we can just create a new future?
It's a fair question.
What is the actual mechanism for overriding our own metaphorical DNA?
Yeah.
Because right below those 3 steps, the document drops us into a tactical roadmap.
Yes, framed as a 5-day audio and discovery experience.
Right. And I have to say, 5 days seems incredibly fast to achieve a lasting transformation on a literal lifetime of inherited trauma and survival patterns.
It's very fast.
Like, it takes me more than 5 days to get a catchy commercial jingle out of my head.
Yeah.
How are we rewriting foundational attachment styles in less than a work week?
It is an incredibly aggressive timeline. But the iconography they use to map out this 5-day journey actually reveals the psychological engine they're relying on to force that rapid change.
Okay, let's look at those icons. There's a row of 4 distinct ones. We start with a calendar for the 5-day experience.
Right. Then a pair of headphones representing daily audio lessons.
Next is a paper and pen icon for powerful reflections. And finally, a bullseye with an arrow dead center.
Representing lasting transformation.
You know, the jump from the headphones to the pen and paper is what really catches my eye.
How so?
Well, calling it an audio and discovery experience rather than just like a podcast series or an audiobook implies a heavy demand on the listener.
Oh, absolutely.
It requires an immersive, self-guided boot camp. If you just listen passively, you aren't going to hit that bullseye.
And that visual progression from passive listening to active writing is the entire secret to this methodology.
Hey, writing it down makes that big of a difference?
Huge difference. Think about what happens when you just listen to something, right? The headphones. You might achieve awareness. You might nod along and think, oh, wow, that sounds exactly like my marriage.
Yeah, I do that all the time with audiobooks.
Right, but cognitive behavioral psychology tells us that awareness alone almost never changes behavior.
Because it's just floating around in your head.
Exactly. The internal loops in our brains are too fast, and our defense mechanisms are way too well practiced.
So the pen and paper icon, the powerful reflections, is where the actual rewiring happens.
Yes, because writing forces externalization. When you're asked to physically or digitally write out a reflection, you're forcing your brain to slow down.
Oh, because you literally can't write as fast as you feel.
Precisely. Emotional reactions occur in the amygdala, which is lightning fast. But constructing a sentence requires engaging the prefrontal cortex.
Just the logical center of the brain.
Right. So by making you write it down, the program forces a linear narrative onto emotional chaos. It disrupts that automatic neural pathway and demands cognitive heavy lifting.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It's the difference between reading a book on the physics of riding a bicycle and actually getting on the bike.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like the audio gives you the physics. You understand the theory of balance and momentum. But the journaling, the reflection that is getting on the bike, feeling the wobble, and forcing your brain to build entirely new neural pathways through trial and error just to stay upright.
And that deliberate shift from passive absorption to kinetic participation is really the only logical way to bridge the gap to their final promise of transformation.
Right. They provide the auditory prompts, but the consumer have to do the psychological excavation.
Exactly.
Which begs the question, what exactly are we excavating? I mean, if we're doing all this heavy lifting over 5 days, what are we supposed to uncover?
And that brings us to the centerpiece of the entire poster.
Identifying your unique relationship DNA archetype. They list 7 specific archetypes right across the bottom, and each one has its own little badge icon.
Yes, the archetypes.
For those of you listening, I'm going to list these, and I want you to see if you instinctively feel a pull toward one. Like, are you already trying to guess your label?
It's hard not to.
It really is. Okay, the list is the builder, the idealist, the protector, the fixer, the pursuer, the avoider, and the navigator.
Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, did you notice anything specific about the typography of that list?
Oh, you mean the trademark symbols?
Yes.
Every single archetype. The builder trademark, the idealist trademark, the pursuer trademark has a little symbol attached to it. Slapping a trademark on a personality trait feels like a massive psychological power move.
It really does. It tells the consumer, we own the lens through which you are about to view your deepest self.
Wow, yeah. It signals a highly proprietary, deeply structured piece of intellectual property.
Exactly. This isn't just some casual magazine quiz where you tally up points to find your love language.
Like, mostly as a means, you're this.
Yeah. The ubiquitous trademark symbols elevate the program's authority. They are claiming they haven't just observed human connection. They have categorized it so definitively that they own the legal rights to the definitions.
It frames the archetypes not as loose concepts, but as an actual scientific taxonomy.
Yes.
You know, even without knowing their proprietary trademark definitions, the names alone are so evocative that you can instantly see the friction points.
Oh, for sure.
Like The pairing that practically jumps off the page for me is the pursuer and the avoider.
That pairing is the most transparent nod to established attachment theory in the entire document. It mirrors the classic anxious avoidant trap.
Great, let's break down how that dynamic actually functions.
Yes.
Because just reading those two names side by side, you can almost picture the chaotic loop.
You really can.
So, the pursuer's core mechanism for soothing their own relationship anxiety is to seek closeness. Right?
Yes. They reach out, they want to talk it out, they try to close the physical or emotional distance.
But the very act of them reaching is what triggers the avoider's core fear.
Exactly, which is engulfment or a loss of autonomy.
Man, the tragedy of that specific loop is that both individuals are trying to achieve the exact same thing, emotional safety.
Right, but their methods are diametrically opposed. The avoider seeks safety through distance and decompression.
So the avoider pulls back to regulate their nervous system.
Yes, but that withdrawal immediately spikes the pursuer's anxiety,
Which causes them to pursue harder.
which causes the avoider to retreat further. It's a self-sustaining feedback loop of absolute panic.
By giving those behaviors formal, trademark titles, the program almost validates the dynamic. It acts as an incredible pressure release valve for a couple.
How so?
Well, it essentially says you aren't uniquely broken and your partner isn't intentionally torturing you. You're simply running the code of a pursuer and they're running the code of an avoider.
I love that. It depersonalizes the conflict.
Yeah.
Because if the friction is just a clash of your relationship DNA archetypes, then the argument isn't a moral failing. It's just a mismatch of operating systems.
And once you identify the bugs in the system, you can patch them.
Precisely.
So what about some of the less obvious pairings? Because pursuer and avoider is classic, but looking at this list, I am super fascinated by how, say, the builder might clash with the idealist.
Oh, that is a fascinating hypothetical collision of worldviews.
Right.
Think about the underlying mechanism of someone who identifies as a builder. Their approach to a relationship is likely pragmatic, structural, and focused on tangible progress.
So they show love by securing the foundation, like saving for a house, organizing the schedules, ensuring stability.
Exactly. To a builder, a successful relationship is an edifice that you construct brick by brick over time.
Whereas the idealist is operating on an entirely different frequency. Like, the idealist isn't looking at the bricks, they're looking at the sky.
Yes, their mechanism for connection is rooted in emotional resonance, passion, soulmate-level alignment.
They want the poetry, the deep conversations until 2 a.m., the feeling of being entirely understood.
So imagine those two operating systems trying to communicate during a stressful life event.
Oh boy.
The builder responds to the stress by, say, creating a spreadsheet and a 5-point action plan, genuinely believing they are demonstrating deep commitment.
And the idealist looks at the spreadsheet and feels profoundly lonely.
Exactly. Believing their partner is cold, clinical, and totally avoiding the emotional reality of the situation.
Wow. So the builder feels unappreciated for their hard work, and the idealist feels unseen in their emotional depth.
Neither is wrong, but their DNA strands are fundamentally rejecting each other's attempts to connect.
Which brings everything back to reality in a very sobering way. I mean, we started with this cosmic glowing space DNA and the promise that 5 days of audio can rewrite your future.
We did.
We've dissected these trademarked archetypes that cleanly label our messy behaviors. But the document doesn't end on a note of magical theoretical harmony.
No, it doesn't.
Right at the bottom, beneath a bold "Coming Soon" banner, it drops a tagline that serves as a massive reality check.
This raises an important question about what this is actually aiming for, because this is where the soaring aspirational rhetoric hits the absolute pavement.
So what does this all mean? The tagline reads, and this is a direct quote, "Marriage takes work to make it work, so let's get to work."
Wow.
Yeah, it specifically targets the institution of marriage and uses the word work 3 times in a single sentence. It's almost a chant.
The contrast is brilliant, honestly. Think about the visual journey the consumer has just taken. Glowing stars, floating romantic red hearts, luminous golden genetics.
Right. It appeals directly to the part of the human psyche that desperately wants a magical, instantaneous fix for romantic pain.
It promises discovery, but it concludes with the most pragmatic, gritty, blue-collar sentiment imaginable.
It's the ultimate bait and switch, but it's deeply ethical in its honesty.
How do you mean?
Well, if the poster had opened with "Marriage is exhausting daily labor, sign up for our boot camp," people will scroll right past it. It's too heavy.
Oh, totally. No one wants to sign up for daily labor.
Exactly. By hooking you with the concept of discovering your secret internal DNA, it makes the initial step feel revelatory and deeply personal. But it refuses to lie to you at the end.
Right.
It says loud and clear, understanding your archetype is just the vocabulary lesson. Applying that vocabulary in the context of a lifelong partnership requires serious elbow grease.
Because what does that work actually entail in the context of this program? It means actively fighting your own biology every single day.
Yeah.
If you're an avoider, the work is feeling your entire nervous system scream at you to leave the room during an argument and choosing to stay seated.
And if you're a pursuer, the work is feeling the agonizing panic of your partner needing space and choosing not to send that fifth text message.
The archetypes give you the map, but the map doesn't walk the trail for you.
You still have to hike the mountain. It really is a masterclass in modern marketing.
It is.
This single document takes us from acknowledging the heavy inherited baggage we all carry through a mechanism of active journaling to disrupt our neural pathways, to adopting a proprietary vocabulary for our personal flaws. And it does all of that just to strip away our romantic illusions so we can get down to the gritty, unglamorous work of maintaining a relationship.
It is a remarkable synthesis of high-concept branding and grounded psychological principles. But as we step back and view this entire framework, there is one final provocation that the document inherently raises.
Okay, what's that?
Mostly through what it doesn't show. The entire focus of the poster, the archetypes, the 5-day journey, it's entirely centered on individual discovery. It's your relationship DNA.
Right. It is heavily focused on the self.
Yeah.
Figure out if you're the fixer or the protector or the navigator.
But look back at the central image that anchors the entire poster. A DNA helix is never a single strand floating in isolation. By definition, it's a double helix. It requires 2 separate strands. So if marriage truly takes work to make it work, the final ultimate test isn't just about successfully identifying your own archetype in a vacuum.
The real test is the collision.
Precisely. You can spend 5 days perfectly mapping your own genetic code. You can understand exactly why you are a builder or a fixer.
Right.
But the moment you bring that newly discovered code into a room with another human being who has their own entirely different, fiercely protected strand of DNA, the real experiment begins.
Yeah.
The true work of any long-term relationship might not just be naming your own archetype, but surviving the friction when 2 entirely different operating systems twist around each other, desperately trying to connect and hold together in the dark.